Have you ever thought about how some places in this world look completely calm and ordinary on the surface, yet hide secrets so profound that scientists are left completely speechless? Today, we're taking you somewhere, a famous landmark that draws over 1 million visitors every single year, yet almost no one knows what lies buried beneath those ancient basalt stones. Don't scroll away just yet, because the deeper this story goes, the colder it gets. Have you ever heard of the Giant's Causeway in Northern Ireland? It's a breathtaking stretch of nearly 40,000 hexagonal basalt columns. Formed around 60 million years ago during a period of massive volcanic activity. For centuries, people have come here to marvel at its beauty, and scientists have studied it as one of the most perfect examples of natural geology on Earth. But not long ago, something no one had anticipated shattered the silence this place had held for tens of millions of years. Before we go any further, I want to ask you something. Do you believe there are phenomena in this world that science still cannot explain? Drop your answer in the comments. I'm genuinely curious what you think. It all started on an ordinary morning. Marcos, a 34-year-old electrician from Dublin, had come to the causeway with nothing more ambitious in mind than filming some coastal scenery with his drone. He had no reason to expect anything unusual. As the drone drifted along the cliff face and its camera swept across the dark basalt wall, something happened that stopped him cold. A section of the rock face, solid, ancient, unchanged for millions of years, began to move, not with a crack, not with a collapse, not with falling debris or clouds of dust. It simply pushed outward, smooth and steady, like an enormous hidden drawer sliding open from within the cliff. For approximately 11 seconds, the opening remained exposed, revealing nothing but a void of pure darkness behind it. Then, just as silently and just as smoothly, the stone slid back into place. The seams vanished. The surface looked exactly as it always had. Not a single mark was left behind. When Marcos reviewed the footage, his first instinct was that something had gone wrong with the camera. He uploaded the video online, half expecting people to immediately point out the technical glitch. Instead, it went viral, and among the millions who watched it was a geologist named Dr. Clara Brennan, who had spent more than 15 years studying the Giant's Causeway. After watching the footage carefully, she said very little. Only this: either this is the most sophisticated hoax ever produced, or it is something we have never encountered before. Do you think the footage could have been faked? I know a lot of people's first reaction is to assume special effects, but what came next made that question far more complicated. 3 days after the video spread across the internet, Dr. Brennan arrived at the site with a small research team, carrying ground-penetrating radar and sonar equipment. She expected the scans to reveal a small natural cavity, at most a pocket, a crack, something that could be explained within normal geological parameters. The scan results stopped her where she stood. The instruments detected a fully sealed chamber hidden within the basalt. And inside that chamber, standing upright, were 7 figures. 7 upright figures, each one measured between 2.3 and 2.6 meters tall, far larger than any human remains ever discovered from ancient settlements in the region. More unsettling still, they were not scattered randomly throughout the space. They stood in a perfectly straight line, spaced approximately 1.4 meters apart from one another, arranged with a precision that felt deeply deliberate, as if they were waiting for something. I want to pause here and ask you directly, if you were part of that research team and saw those scan results for the first time, what would you feel in that moment? Excitement, fear, both at once? Tell me in the comments, because I genuinely want to know your gut reaction. Geophysicist Dr. Ian Walsh arrived next, bringing more advanced scanning equipment to perform detailed density analysis on the 7 shapes. What he found added another layer of impossibility to an already impossible situation. The figures were not solid. Each one had a thin outer shell, but the interior was hollow, not filled with stone or mineral deposits. But empty, they resembled outlines, silhouettes, hollow containers shaped like bodies. And here is where the geology becomes deeply unsettling. Basalt only encases objects that are already present when the molten rock cools and hardens around them. If these 7 figures truly existed within basalt that solidified 60 million years ago, they would have had to be standing in that exact spot before the volcanic eruption, before the lava ever flowed, before the rock ever formed. 60 million years ago. Human history spans only a few million. Then the situation became more complicated still within days of the initial scans. Officials from the Environmental Agency arrived at the site. In public statements, they dismissed the drone footage as an optical effect caused by light and shadow, and denied that any hidden chamber existed. But privately, not everyone on the agency's team agreed. One of their own scientific consultants, Dr. Naomi Gallagher, reviewed the sonar data in detail. Witnesses said her face went pale. She stepped away from the equipment and left the site without much explanation. A week later, she resigned from the project entirely. When someone later asked her what she had seen in the data, she gave only a brief reply. She said she had seen enough. Shortly after, a section of the footpath near the causeway was closed to the public officially due to erosion and safety concerns. Heavy barriers and fencing went up around the area, looking far more like industrial security installations than the kind of protective railings you normally see at a tourist site. But behind those barriers, the research quietly continued, and that's when the most disturbing discovery of all was made. When Dr. Brennan returned to the site a few days later to run another series of scans, the instruments showed only 6 figures. She assumed it was a technical error. She restarted the system, recalibrated, and ran the scan again. Same result. Dr. Walsh used a completely separate instrument to verify independently. Same result. The 7th figure was gone. Gone from a chamber that had never been opened. Gone from solid sealed basalt that no camera had ever recorded moving again. Marcos had installed a motion sensor camera directly in front of the rock face after capturing the original footage. It had been recording continuously. It had captured nothing, no movement. No shifting stone, no opening in the wall, and yet one of the 7 figures had disappeared. That same week, thermal imaging specialist Dr. Anne Moran arrived at the site to investigate unusual heat readings that earlier sensors had flagged. The air outside was around 4 degrees Celsius. The basalt surface was cold, stable, and entirely consistent with what you would expect from ancient stone on a coastal cliff. But when she directed her equipment toward the sealed chamber, the reading was 37 degrees Celsius. That is almost exactly the temperature of a living human body. And the heat was not spreading outward into the surrounding rock the way geological warmth would. It was contained, concentrated around the 6 remaining figures, steady and self-contained, as if something inside that darkness was maintaining its own temperature. Dr. Moran repeated the scans multiple times, checking the equipment from every angle. Every test returned the same result. Eventually, she quietly set down her instruments and walked away from the site. But the story was far from over. The team installed long-term vibration sensors and temperature monitors around the sealed entrance. Within a few weeks, the sensors began detecting a repeating low-frequency pulse from deep within the rock, slow, steady, returning every 4.7 seconds, consistent and unbroken. It felt less like a geological event and more like a heartbeat. At the same time, high-precision scans began picking up measurable shifts in the positions of the 6 remaining figures. Every 72 hours, each shape moved slightly millimeters at a time. Barely perceptible without precise instruments, but always in the same direction. Toward the stone door, the temperature inside the chamber also began spiking without warning, sometimes surging above 40 degrees Celsius before gradually settling back down. These fluctuations followed no predictable pattern and showed no correlation with outside air temperature, ocean tides, or seasonal changes. When all of this data was presented to a scientific review council, the response was not curiosity, it was alarm. The council's concern was not about what might be inside the chamber. Their concern was about what would happen if this information became public. The fear was not scientific, it was social. They believed the public reaction to evidence of something beneath the Earth's surface, something that appeared to influence heat, gravity, and physical positioning in ways current science could not explain, would not be one of calm interest, it would be panic. Within a month, the entire research project was quietly shut down. Funding was withdrawn, equipment was removed, everyone involved was required to sign confidentiality agreements. The area was declared geologically unstable and sealed off with heavy fencing. But the data did not disappear. Marcos still holds copies of the original drone footage, stored on multiple encrypted drives. Dr. Brennan kept backups of the raw scan data. The thermal readings remain archived in university research records. And a handful of seismic sensors left quietly running at the site have continued collecting information ever since. According to the most recent readings from those sensors, the 6 figures are still moving. Slowly, millimeter by millimeter toward the door. How are you feeling right now? I'll be honest, the first time I worked through all of this, it genuinely unsettled me. But the detail that disturbs me most is not the idea that these figures might be trying to get out. It's the final theory that some of the researchers quietly raised among themselves. That the 7 figures were never prisoners to begin with. They were something more like a welcoming party, a presence that had been waiting, prepared, for exactly the right moment. And the 7th one has already left. It left a fully sealed chamber that no camera recorded opening, no debris was found, no physical evidence of its departure exists at all. Where is it now? No one knows. What does it look like? No one has seen it. Could it be moving among the more than 1 million visitors who pass through the Giant's Causeway every year? There is no way to rule that out. The rock face still looks exactly as it always has, solid, seamless, ancient, and completely still. Everyday tourists walk past it, take photos. Listen to stories about the legendary giant Finn McCool, and move on. Most people don't give the fencing more than a passing glance, but approximately 12 meters beneath that restricted area, 6 hollow figures remain in the dark, surrounded by warmth that matches a living body's temperature, pulsing every 4.7 seconds, moving slowly and steadily closer to the exit with each passing day. And now I want to ask you the most important question of this whole story. Do you think that stone door is going to open again? And if it does, do you want to know? Leave your answer in the comments below. And if you know someone who loves digging into stories like this, share this video with them and see what they think, because these are the kinds of questions that are always more interesting when more minds are working on them. We read every comment and we love hearing where your thinking takes you. There is so much in this world that we still don't understand. Stay curious, stay open. See you next time.